Oh my God. This might have been the best game in the entire tournament. I'm not talking about the goals. I'm not talking specifically about what happened during it, even though it was unbelievable. My heart can't stop. It can't stop, right? I was telling you guys I felt the same way when England played Mexico. Respect for England. What a performance by both teams. Poppy, you followed Argentina all the way up here. You called them winning. Was it a 2-1 that you called?
No, I said 1-0.
1-0. How do you feel? What does this mean for the Argentinian people?
Wow. I mean, where do I even start? Well, firstly, throughout the tournament, so many analysts, critics said that Argentina was really barely getting by. They were barely winning. They're coming back from behind against teams that are not as high caliber as the other side of the bracket. And they just find a way to win. And today, against England, a higher caliber team, they found a way to win. And when I look at the way that Enzo is crying out there. I mean, y'all can't see the TV right now, but to see the faces of these players, what it means to Argentina is exactly the expression on these players' faces. That before the game, Scaloni said that it is just a game, it's nothing more, but you can see after this game, it's not just a game. Like, these players know the weight on their shoulders that the people of Argentina are
times over from his first stint and his second stint here in Atlanta is the game is simple, especially in a knockout tournament. Your best players have to be better than the other team's best players, and that wasn't the case today for England. Kane wasn't, it's hard to get him involved in the game. He dropped deep, helps create that first goal, but doesn't get the goal or the assist. Bellingham pretty absent, pretty anonymous, and the other guys couldn't step up. Argentina's guys did.
Yeah, I think it was a very exciting game, and I don't think there's anything as exciting that I can say to balance it up, outside of the fact that upstairs at Hudson Grill Midtown, we're offering 39 free beers offered by England. Unbelievable. 39, the first 39 people that come upstairs get the first 39 beers. I don't know if you can get more than one at the same time, but try to figure it out with the bartender. That might be interesting. Alex, from a tactical perspective, you were mentioning England having played a little bit more conservative tactically. What are the mistakes you think Tuchel should have avoided doing to get this game and bring it back home?
Yeah, I think this is solely on the shoulders of Tuchel. He cost England the game. His substitutions were banking on pulling the 1-0 over the line. You're taking all your speed out of your front line. You're putting all these defenders in. You could see that Argentina, on the right side predominantly, the crosses were extremely dangerous. England were dodging bullets at that point from that moment on. And then when Argentina gets the 1-1, you're stuck. You can't sub your attackers back in. He eventually did it, but he did it after he was down 2-1. Maybe he should have done it when it was still 1-1 to prepare himself for overtime. Johan Cruyff said it, the best defense is the attack. And you invited Argentina in. And one thing we've learned about Argentina this tournament is that if you invite them in, they will punish you. They have guys with an incredible cross. They have finishers up top. I thought the Argentinian substitutions were expected. I thought the England substitution cost them the game.
Okay, one last question for Poppy. I know you got to leave, go interview the Argentina fans, maybe a Martha, who knows what you're going to get content-wise. One word to describe the game and explain me how you're feeling as an Argentina fan tonight.
One word to describe the game.
Was this the best performance Argentina's pulled off so far in the World Cup?
Like, I'm gonna give my answer, but I'm not speaking tactically. Like your opinion would be very tactical. I would say yes. I would say yes was their best game, given the context of this matchup. That there was totally an opportunity for Argentina to lean too much into this history, to have too much passion, and then screw it up for themselves and mess up. But they didn't do that, and I think this is the best team that they played all tournament. So.
Are they going to win the whole thing?
Of course I'm going to say yes, because people don't understand like how far Argentina passion goes when a team is on the field like that. So I'm going to say yes.
But do you think they're better than Spain?
I think that would be a finicky topic. I would say if they're playing their best, they can be better than Spain's best.
Okay. Thank you, Poppy, very much for coming over here. Carlo, when you're ready, come over here. Carlo Finlay. We need you over here, Carlo.
Bye, guys. Great to see you.
Bye.
Nick, back to you.
Okay.
Atlanta's seen a lot of games in this World Cup, one of which was the Argentina against Egypt. Mm-hmm. Was this better than that?
Oh, absolutely. I just think the number of England fans, with it being, the fourth-ranked team in the world, I think that means something more. The Argentina-England game was an excellent atmosphere because there were 70,000 Argentina fans, and that's who most of the fans around the city. I was watching at a different pub than here today, but the Egypt fans were not anonymous, but they were just not as strong in numbers. The Argentina fans just take over the city wherever they go. They travel so well all over the world, and just a different atmosphere. Not a bad one. You get a more even one today, but.
Carlo, what's the biggest story out of this game?
It's about surviving, right? At the end of the day, you're losing to England. You're in, past the 80th minute, and there's an element of desperation at that point, right? You're thinking, who do we throw on? What do we do? How can we score? And then to score 2 goals in relatively short succession suggests an ability to survive. It doesn't suggest dominance. It doesn't suggest you control the game from start to finish, but it suggests that sometimes soccer and football is a game of moments, right? And so you had Enzo Fernandez with a brilliant shot, and then you had a fantastic cross from Messi and El Toro, Lautaro Martinez scoring at the end there. So sometimes you survive on a couple of brilliant moments.
And Alex, we talk so much about Messi all the time, but how impactful were the substitutions today? Lautaro Martinez comes in. I mean, you have somebody like that on the bench. What an absolute player. I mean, unbelievable. If you have somebody like that on the bench, should you start him from the beginning, or is this the magic of Argentina that you can put anybody at any time and you can expect any outcome?
No, I think this is the magic of Argentina. Like you said, I think when you have players of this caliber on your bench and you put them in. Now, England responded very well. They put Dan Burns in immediately to counter the threat. But sitting in this deep, inviting Argentina to shoot from the edge of the 18, because that's how deep England was sitting, inviting Argentina to cross the ball in when you have those kind of guys up top for Argentina that can head the ball. You're inviting the pressure. The goal was coming, and I even mentioned it to Carlo and a couple other people at my table. I'm not surprised if they make the 2-1 in regular time as well, and they did, because, like I said, England subbed themselves out of the game. They had a brilliant goal to get themselves up 1-0, and then you get to that psychological phase, where Argentina has to come, but England, wow, we're this close. We're 20 minutes away from a World Cup final, and that goes into your head. Coaches alike, it does go into your head when you're coaching the game, when the players are playing the game. You're trying to get it over the line, but as we saw also with Morocco, the Netherlands, that's never a good omen, because you're inviting the pressure against an exceptional Argentina team that in that part of the game, they are second to none. The same is true for Spain. Now we're going to get a really interesting final between, again, 2 contrasting styles. But if Spain invites Argentina, then I would have to give the nod to Argentina. But if Spain disrupts Argentina and can keep them away, like England did the first half, keep them out of their box, I think Spain has a shot.
And this is going to be a completely different game for the final because Spain loves to keep the possession of the ball. Argentina has a different style of play. We all know it. They try to play more on between the lines with those vertical passes. It's just so hard right now at this point of the tournament to say, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And that's the main reason why I don't do any bets, because I always lose. You guys didn't get the result of the game. Well, you did at some point.
I did. I had it almost, Massimo.
When did you get it? Because you did say they were going to win 2-1 at some point. What was the minute or the time?
When they started making the defensive substitutions, I think I told the guys at my table, like, and you could see Argentina getting chances, and I was texting some of my English colleagues, you guys are dodging bullets right now, and that's what happened. And eventually one goes in. When you get those big of an opportunities, there's no way you're going to dodge 10 bullets.
And for England, I mean, they did this against Mexico, right? They had to sit deep. I mean, granted, they were down a man, but they had to sit deep. And I thought they were organized. When you allow shots from distance, there's a chance that someone hits the ball so well that they score a goal. And Enzo hit that ball, and it looked like Pickford was a tiny bit unsighted. And that's all it takes, right? So it doesn't mean that tactically you got everything wrong. It just means there was a moment of brilliance. And then at that point, it felt like when you get to 1-1, there was this sense of just chaos. And what I can tell you about Argentina is they thrive in chaos, right? So the weirder it got at the end, the more you thought, okay, they're going to get a second goal. And I think for England, it sort of undid what was otherwise a pretty good performance, right? They were, they kept it neutral through halftime. They scored. They were never looked under that much pressure throughout the first half. So you can't look at it and say, oh, they set up poorly or they were not prepared. It just sort of felt like things kind of steamrolled. And when you make defensive substitutions, it becomes difficult to then shift how you're playing and suddenly play in a more proactive style. At that point, it was what it was, and they were holding on for dear life, and that's difficult to do when you have multiple gifted strikers, like you said, a Lautaro Martinez coming off the bench, an Enzo Fernandez shooting the ball from probably 28 yards out. Like, that's difficult to deal with.
And I also think, as much as we're bashing Tuchel right now for his substitutions, Scaloni deserves a lot of credit for putting Martinez on when he does. His first 4 subs were defenders and midfielders. There was not an extra attacker. Argentina's still in that 4-4-2 shape. England could sit there in a back 5 and defend against 2 strikers all day, especially if one of them is Messi and he's not running around in behind and all that. There's not a lot of threat in behind. There's no aerial threat. Messi's a short king, as we know. But when Martinez comes on, you have the front 3 then. Messi shifts over to the right. You have Alvarez on the left, Martinez in the middle. And it just completely changed the look for England. And then they get both of their goals after that substitution. That was a big point of contention for me. Is Tuchel then did not have an answer to that substitution, to that from Scaloni there.
Yeah. Are you disappointed with Kane's performance?
I think so. I mean, we heard Holland talk about how he doesn't care how many times he touches the ball. Kane is not that type of striker. He likes to drop deep and orchestrate, and much more of a 9.5 than a traditional 9. Just kind of does it all. But there were times I was sitting at the table with my sister and my brother-in-law, and he was like, why is Kane dropping so deep? Messi can do that because he's got other people around him that are willing to make those runs. If Morgan Rogers is a ball-to-feet guy, and if Gordon is like a dribbly boy, not going to, create all by himself type guy, then there's no one up top there besides Bellingham to kind of do that. It's easy for the Argentina center backs, even on yellow cards, to then kind of keep that at bay.
Alex, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get what my friends here are saying, but I think if you look at England, they didn't just play with 5 in the back. They didn't just play. They were sitting extremely deep. Mm-hmm. When you do that, when you choose that as a coach to sit that deep, you have to keep speed up top. And when England took their speed out, that means they invited the pressure even more. That was made in the Netherlands-Morocco game. And it was made in this game as well. You can argue Tuchel made that mistake. I'm okay if you play 5 in the back and you're trying to get it across the line, but he was banking everything on the 1-0. And then you have a serious problem when Argentina does get the goal. Now, to Carlos' point, you can't reshift your team. And I felt had I been the coach, I would have kept at least one or two fast guys up top to keep Argentina a little bit more honest and keep their defense back, because now Argentina's fullbacks were allowed to push way high up and cross those balls in at will. So that's my point that I try to make.
Yeah. Nick, do you think the game is going to change in Atlanta after this game? I'm talking about the game of soccer. Do you think this game reshapes the understanding of people in Georgia about soccer? Also, there's a lot of people in the United States have said, well, soccer's not a manly sport. You know, a real man plays football, a real man does MMA. This was a manly game.
It was so physical and so demanding on all these players. You're right. In regards to soccer in Atlanta, with so many new things coming, you have the women's team in a few years, you have the new U.S. soccer headquarters here. Like, Atlanta is the epicenter of soccer in America. I don't think you're going to hear that type of sort of mentality towards soccer. Maybe you'll get it from the old school Southern NFL type guys. But other than that, people embrace the sport in this city in a way that's not the same everywhere else. And I think what Atlanta United needs to do is, well, besides trying to not be trashy on the field, is they need to have some fan initiatives, get people out to games, because what MLS has to sell people is the fan atmosphere. That's what people are chasing. That's what everyone here at Hudson Grill is chasing today. That's what people who watch the United States at Fido's are chasing. That's what people who go to FanFest are chasing. They're chasing that atmosphere of watching the game with other people who care about soccer just as much as they do. And if Atlanta United can harness that, attendance goes up and hopefully the team gets better with it.
Carlo, you have a lot of young students in your classes. A lot of them are big college football, basketball, baseball. What is something you would like to tell all your students if you were in the class right now, if you wanted to talk about to young people and tell them, hey, this is what soccer is, what should they take away from this game, and what should they understand about soccer?
The most obvious thing to me is that there is nothing else in the world that generates as many eyeballs as World Cup soccer. So we live in a world where we do things on our own time. We stream our own music, our own films, our own TV shows. But the World Cup, we know, generates the most eyeballs. And that means there are the most people watching, people care the most, and there are the most stories. And so if you like the action and you like stories, this is the game for you, right? This is the game that people think about. When we were talking earlier about the 1986 World Cup, if you think about that, the idea of talking about something that happened 40 years ago is sort of astonishing and suggests that this sport has a pull that nothing else in the world has. And imagine missing out on that. Watching the scenes of a dramatic comeback or a late winner, I just think to myself, imagine not liking the sport. You're missing out on, to me, the greatest thrill ride. Whether you're elated or dejected.
You have to be incapable of loving.
Everybody who loves sports, just like you can love the Knicks' victory over the Spurs in the NBA Finals. The idea is we love the drama, right? This is dramatic. Let's just soak it up, man.
Yeah. Alex, what would you hope young kids who are starting to play soccer in the United States understand from this game, and how would you like American soccer to learn from this game that we saw today between Argentina and England?
Well, that's a very broad question. I just recently wrote a blog about that, as you know. But I think in America, unfortunately, the game is not accessible to everyone, and that's a big issue. Where in the rest of the world, if you go to Argentina, you go to the Dutch national team or the England national team, name them, or even the Italian national team who's not here, all those kids grew up with soccer.
Stop laughing.
And it
Stop laughing right now. I don't like that.
And it was, and it might be a sore subject, but the children, every child in Europe has a chance, or in South America, to play the game. And in America, we still have some barriers for kids to play. We need to remove those barriers. That's the first thing we need to do, so that every child, no matter what their social, economic status is, has an opportunity to play this great game, because it is a great game. And there are great storylines. And you don't have to be 6'5", you do not have to be 300 pounds. Anybody can play this game. I think there's a big difference though, because in '94 I was here, we still had to hand out rule books to parents. That was the first generation, second generation maybe, of soccer players that we were dealing with. I think right now, a lot of the parents today have played the game, and that's a big difference. So the game is not going to stop. I think right now it's the third most popular game in the United States. It's gonna grow. I don't know if it's ever going to pass American football because that is almost king in the United States. But if you would have asked me 20 years ago that Atlanta United will sell more season tickets than the Falcons, I would have said no way, no how, and it's happening. So I think we need to take those barriers away for kids to play, make it accessible for everybody. And then, the game now is viewed on so many channels. I mean, the Premier League is starting in a month. All the other leagues in the world are starting. MLS is picking back up. So the children have a lot of opportunities. Back when we were growing up, we had to find a sports bar. Hope the sports bar had a dish.
Thank God we have Hudson Grill right now.
We have Hudson Grill right now with TV, games everywhere. So watch the games, enjoy the games, and then embrace this event because, and I think America has embraced this event. From the Scots in Boston, the Dutchies in Kansas, the Argentinians wherever they go, I think the American fans have loved, and the American children have seen that this is more than just a game. This is, it really embraces, us being one big family, and you take the politics out of it, people get along pretty well, no matter where they come from. So I hope that is the message that children also take from this World Cup, that, we can all get along. We all, here you have an Italian, half an Argentinian, an American, a Dutchman, and we all have one passion, we watch the game. So, and that's wherever I go in the world, if we talk about football, that's how we call it in the world, not soccer, but football. Immediately we talk about, the greats, and it doesn't matter where I am, so it really brings people together. So I think this has been a brilliant World Cup with an unbelievable final that we have to look forward to.
I think I'm about to cry right now.
That was beautiful.
This is so emotional. I mean,
It makes me
this
emotional.
game was so
Makes me
emotional.
emotional.
And I wasn't cheering for anybody. I'm just here having a good time. Italy was out a long time ago. I'm just watching these people just giving it their best. It gets emotional. I mean, is it normal? I mean, I'm a man who cries. Is that okay?
I am too.
Can I cry for soccer?
Absolutely. You can cry for anything you want. It's your emotions. Feel how you
Like
feel.
I said, imagine not liking soccer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
can't.
Now, I want to ask you guys last couple questions. One has to do, what would you guys think are the biggest radical differences between the World Cup of 1994 and this World Cup?
Can I start?
Yeah.
Because I grew up in Georgia, right? I was 10 years old in 1994, and one of the things that stands out, first of all, is there were no games played in Georgia, right? So it's important to keep that in mind, that we were not considered worthy as a state of hosting the World Cup, right? And I think the other thing is that soccer was viewed as like almost like an exotic animal, like this new thing coming here. What's going on? Who are these people? Why do those Brazilians have one name? And who are these people? And so now I don't feel like it's so foreign, but like it takes time. We were surprised to get to the round of 16 as the United States, right? That was a shocking, when the United States lost in the round of 16, there was incredible disappointment from myself included, right? This sense of like, we could have done better. And while that hurts, there was a part of me that said, maybe that's progress. Maybe that pain that every other country feels when they get booted from the tournament is like, we're now part of the club of like everybody except one country being disappointed with the outcome, right? Because you didn't win. And so I tend to think that like it's generational. So every 20 to 25 years, you get a little bit of a buildup. So we're not there yet, but we're a lot farther along than we were. I mean, because if you remember, the 1998 World Cup was not good for the United States. These things take time. We're on the right track. Let's see what 4 years from now looks like.
Nick?
I was born in 1999, so I'm going to pass. I will just say what's cool about soccer.
What you've heard. Let's say what you've heard.
Yeah. It's a good point that soccer was not in Georgia in 1994 really at all. And I think one of the things I was thinking about as his amazing speech was happening over there, I was thinking about how this is Atlanta United's 10th season, and we're also about to get a women's team in their 12th season. So folks my age who started with Atlanta United in high school, college as young adults, are now having kids. I don't personally have kids, but people I know are. People are
Are you
now
going to have kids after tonight?
No, absolutely not. No children for me. Just animal kids, my pets.
I don't know, maybe the joy, who
yeah,
knows?
right. Yeah, exactly.
I bet in Argentina they'll have a lot more kids tonight.
You know what?
Maybe not on purpose.
Even worse. So I think when these kids that are now being born and going to their first games and remembering it for the first time, as toddlers, as elementary school age kids, are thinking about like, oh, my parents took me to soccer. Like I grew up on baseball because that's what my parents liked. But now these kids now are going to grow up with soccer. So hopefully, if the world comes back in 2038 or another time in the future, it'll be even bigger than this.
Well, one last question for all of you guys. The refereeing, people have been talking about the refereeing being an advantage of Argentina. They haven't played anybody in the top 10. Today they played against somebody in the top 10. What did you guys think of the refereeing?
Credits where credits are due. This was an outstanding refereeing performance from an American referee. So that's also important to mention because we are not maybe considered a football nation yet, but we had an American referee that did a fantastic job. And Carla and I were talking about it, about, a good referee is invisible. Today's referee was invisible, and this is a game that it had a lot of tension. It was highly emotional, and I thought credit where credit is due. This referee was absolutely magnificent.
You guys agree?
I mean, look, the thing is, when games are hotly contested, there's always going to be fouls. And you just don't want it to be decided by referee decisions. And going into this match, I kind of thought that would happen.
I'm glad there was no penalty.
No,
finally we saw a World
'cause
Cup with no penalty.
Absolutely.
In your mind, you're always thinking, like, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And for something to happen and for you to go, that kind of ruins the spirit of the competition. Everybody's questioning this or that. And this felt like a straight up high-level match between two really good teams. And like Alex said, the referee was not involved in the sense of he was not the star. And the fact that he was American to me suggests that we've earned the faith of the world in our knowledge of the game to be able to adjudicate a semifinal game. Big deal. Really glad it worked out well.
Nick, what should the people in Atlanta tonight, Americans here in Atlanta, they're going out, they're going at the bar, having a beer. What should they enjoy about this atmosphere?
Just enjoy it, man. It was our last game today. We got 8 games, one of the most of any of the host cities. Enjoy it. Enjoy the third place game on Saturday, even though it really doesn't matter all that much. Enjoy the final on Sunday. Come to Hudson Grill. Come back and see us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys very much for coming, giving me your opinions on the game. I thought this was a wonderful show. What a wonderful game. The game helps a lot.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be objective on this, but thank you guys very much for coming on.
Hey, the Yingling didn't hurt either.
No, it didn't at all. Thank you very much for listening to the Underdogs Podcast. Tune in for the next episode on the final on July 19th. Thank you for listening.